And I think it's important that as independent creatives, we don't sleep on the fact that partnerships can be equally as important as sponsorships. I think when we are independent and we're just really looking for cash to bring our ideas and our stories to life, it's very easy for us to focus 100% on sponsorships because we need money. Welcome to another episode of the Podcast Trapper. I'm your host, Anna Agogo, founder of Black Pod Collective, Black Pod Festival, and Adode Media. And I'm excited today because of the fact that I've been noticing this trend amongst clients, friends, and just independent creators within my community around understanding the difference between partnerships and sponsorships. And I also noticed that when people reach out to me as well. So I think it's important that I do a little quick episode, and I think this one's going to be like a 5-minute. And I know Matthew's like, oh no, that's a lie. This is not going to be 5 minutes. But I can lie to myself and say that it is. So let's quickly dive into understanding the difference between partnerships and sponsorships. So first and foremost, what's the difference? When I think of, and keep in mind, this is not scientific, this is my thought process, because keep in mind, this is my podcast. So for anybody who wants to come for me, don't. So what's the difference between a partner and a sponsor? When I think of sponsorships, I think of something very transactional, meaning I want X, Y, and Z, and I'm going to give you X, Y, and Z amount of dollars to attain that element. And it's very transactional because the fact that there's metrics and there's other elements involved that are very much so, I'm giving you X, you are giving me Y, and then we go on our separate ways. Now, of course, you can have long-term sponsors who sponsor you for a long period of time, but that's not what we're talking about today. We're talking about those who are, hey, this is about your podcast downloads, your data, a lot of those elements. However, a partnership, a little different. Typically with partnerships, it's something that is equally advantageous. That can be monetary, or it could be the name and the rooms that they can get you in. And I think it's important that as independent creatives, we don't sleep on the fact that partnerships can be equally as important as sponsorships. I think when we are independent and we're just really looking for cash to bring our ideas and our stories to life, it's very easy for us to focus 100% on sponsorships because we need money. We're not thinking about partnerships and people who can get your name in rooms. And here's the thing, that is a large piece of my success. Out the gate, I was not focused on sponsorships. And actually to this day, that is still not a focus of mine. I focus a lot on partnerships. I focus a lot on building relationships with organizations and individuals so that way we could be mutually beneficial and supportive of each other. What I mean by this, and I know you're probably like, Anna, are we still talking about the differences? Yes, I am. What I mean by this, though, is a partner is somebody who believes in what you're putting together. They believe in your project. They may not have the resources and funds, but they may have the reach. They may have the network to be able to support you. A partner is somebody who can either get your name in rooms, or technically they're considered an advocate. But a partnership can also be where you are doing something for them that is advantageous. What this looks like can be, let's say you have a large listenership. A partnership may be this person who helped you kind of get your name in a room that it may not have been in before, while on the other hand, you are helping them grow their reach. It has to be mutually advantageous. This day and age, we often try to refer to sponsorships as partnerships. I hear this a lot where people reach out and they're like, I would love to partner with you and da-da-da-da. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I would love to partner too, And we get a lot of this with Black Pod Collective where it's like, oh my God, we would love to partner with you for you to disseminate our podcast or disseminate our event to your massive audience. Because yes, our newsletter has a little bit over 5,000 subscribers. And that's quite a feat. And people want to get in front of that audience and they're like, oh, let's partner together. And at the end of it, they just want me to promote their content to my audience. That's not a partnership. Quite frankly, you need to pay to sponsor the newsletter at that point. A partnership is, hey, we are wanting to get in front of your audience. Can we go ahead and put this in your newsletter? In return, we would love to be able to showcase your community, your work to our audience. That's more of a partnership. So when we're thinking through why you should be building partnerships, it's because of the fact that ultimately money can only take you so far. And I know I would probably have been that person at one time who was like, yeah, that sounds real cute, but I have no money now. But quite frankly, when you take it a step further and you think through what it looks like to really build lasting relationships with people. Think of people you met in childhood and what those relationships have been able to do for your life down the line. Now, granted, don't think of anybody who may have been a horrible friend, took you down the wrong path. We're not talking about those type of friends. I'm talking about people who you've been able to build lasting relationships with, and they've been able to help you, whether it's personally, professionally. That's the same thing around with your podcast. Start looking at brands and people that you can build lasting partnerships with so that this way you guys can rise up together. I am in a group of Black women who are all producers or work in some capacity within the podcast space. And quite frankly, I never thought of them for sponsorship or anything like that. However, this partnership has been able to help me grow my business, help me grow in these relationships and these friendships. And so I want us to stop thinking of our podcast is this thing that we want to be a cash cow, and looking at these organizations and these people as just people and dollars, but instead start actually building relationships with people who actually believe in the work you're doing, believe in your podcast content, believe in the messaging that you're putting out there. You'll really see a difference in how they treat your content and how they talk to you and how you feel about your content. And then I also think there's a time and a season to focus on sponsors versus to focus on partners. For me, a lot of the relationships I have right now are partners. Like, these are people I consider friends. These are people I would call to see how they're doing. And those to me are partnerships. Now, I'm at a season of where I need to start focusing on sponsorships because I've done the groundwork. And, a lot of people might not agree with this, but I believe I've set the foundation. I have launched an organization. I've had a community. I have a community. I have a conference. And these things require cash flow in order to continue to build upon them. This means I need to start looking at big brands. And that's where I think a lot of people within my own community, but also some of my clients are at. They're at a space to where they've already kind of done the work to tell their message, to build a successful brand, to build the foundation. And now they're at a space to where they recognize that to take it to that next level, they need an influx of cash flow. They need sponsors to believe in that message who want to get in front of their audience. And don't worry, I'll be doing an episode on how I've been able to work with some clients to develop some of those sponsors and find that access, find those contacts, and kind of talk you through what most sponsors have asked us and what you need to know. As I always say, this is not a how-to podcast because of the fact that I don't think there's anything such as a one-size-fits-all, but it's more so a podcast about my experiences and my journey and how I've been able to help some of my clients and those within my community. And so this is just my experience. So if anything I say, you're like, oh no, I hate this. Well, guess what? It worked for me. Doesn't mean it's going to work for you. And so lastly, I want to leave you guys with this. Write out your list of sponsors. And your list of sponsors may be people you don't know, you don't have access to, and then write out your list of partners. And these could be advocates, because that's another word for it, is that these are people who are going to advocate for you, your brand, your show, your podcast, your mission. And your list of advocates don't necessarily need to be people who have funds to sponsor, but these are people who you've built relationships with, who are able to speak about your work ethic, who are able to have access into the rooms you want to get into, and figure out how you actually build genuine connections and relationships. This is why, for me, conferences and why I don't think I'll ever do a virtual option for Black Pod Festival ever again, because of the mere fact that it's coming in person. Meeting people, developing these lasting relationships is really where we see growth for our community. It's really where we see growth for our podcast and our shows and the work that we're doing. Coming into those rooms and connecting with people makes a world of a difference. And so, shameless plug, if you haven't already purchased your ticket for Black Pod Festival 2023, make sure you go ahead and do so. Utilize the link in the details in order to get your ticket today, because it's not just about the educational resources we'll have there, but about the long-lasting partnerships and advocates you're able to build from joining and meeting people in person. So I hope you found this information helpful. And if you're interested in seeing what else I can share with you, because I want to hear from you guys. I want to see what's resonating. I want to see how I can continue to share my knowledge and my experience in a way that you find beneficial. Feel free to send an email to support@adodemedia.com. And don't forget, Adode is ADODE media.com. And last but not least, please, please, please make sure you leave a review because I would love to see what you guys think of this show and, share it with a friend. Tell people that the Podcast Trapper is your one-stop resource for all things podcasting. Until next time, guys, have a good one.